What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. So, is it just me, or is it kind of strange that we know so little about Scarlet and Violet versions? I know that they were just announced recently, so I don't want the whole dex listed out or anything, but we don't even know the name of the region yet. I feel like that's the first thing we should know, even before the starters. But speaking of, they weren't even named in the trailer. We had to go to external sources to learn that they were available. Obviously, I don't want them to spoil things, but it just strikes me as a bit strange. However, we do generally know that the basis of the region is Spain, or more accurately, the entirety of the Iberian Peninsula. Possibly more with the islands in the area, or maybe even a tiny part of northern Africa. We'll have to see, but that does bring to mind the kinds of Pokemon that could show up in Generation 9. That's not to say that every Pokemon perfectly matches the real-world inspirations for their native region, but they at least tend to match up with the environments that can be found there. So let's take a look at this corner of our world and see what might be in store for the newest Pokemon games. Now, we have the starters, of course, and I am far from the first person to comment on them, but it is possible that Sprigatito here could be based on the Iberian lynx. Now, this would be a slightly smaller cat than, say, Incineroar as far as the actual feline, but some liberties could be taken to alter its size appropriately. Obviously, the grass type isn't locked into this creature, but it could fit with the starter. And even if Sprigatito doesn't go for this theming, it would still be a great option to use for another Pokemon in the dex. Maybe a ground type. We've never really had a ground type cat before, so that'd be fun. As we know, Pokemon has certain traditions that they like to follow as well. So what could we see for the regional bird, for instance? There are probably a few options, but I like the look of the Iberian magpie. This could easily be the regional bird with its distinctive color scheme, and the blue on the wings is just gorgeous. Honestly, I'm kind of missing the two-stage lines that we had there for a while, so I would like to see that again. But you might say that it could possibly be construed as too close to the Rookidee line. I wouldn't say that, but if you must have something different, there is always the bearded vulture instead. This would be the end of the line instead of the beginning, obviously, but this thing is far more intimidating than most regional birds, and could probably get away with the dark type or maybe even dragon given some of its looks. The point is, there are some great options for our standard favorites from the animals that already reside in the real-world areas of Spain. Likewise, there's also the regional rodent, and you could do things like the Eurasian beaver that lived there. However, we've already gotten a beaver in that role. Just because it's not everyone's favorite doesn't mean this meme lord should have to be copied so soon. The same goes with the red squirrel. It would just be ridiculous to use another one right after Squavit. So instead, I think their focus should go to the common genet. I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with this animal, but once I saw the pictures, I knew that this sort of mongoose offshoot could easily handle becoming the regional rodent. It could make a great two-stage line. Of course, they would be normal type, but could they become something more? I don't really want it to be a dark type, even though I could see that working out, but maybe instead the ghost type? Given its big glowing eyes and active nature at nighttime, I could see it evolving into a very useful normal and ghost type that you could get early on. But there are also minks and some other creatures that you could choose if you would rather have them. Another important feature is of course the Pichu Clone, and for this I think the tiny elephant shrew would be perfect. Not only is this minuscule animal adorable, but it's distinct enough to stand out from all of the other Pokemon in its group because of the unique biology that it has. You could even purposefully make it more elephant-like, but that's probably a little too much for a Pichu Clone. What is worth noting is that they have now pretty firmly established that each one of these has to have a different type added. So what will it be for Gen 9? My guess would be ground. It is a phenomenal typing that is not nearly widespread enough to appreciate, and this miniature mouse is just close enough to the earth to pull it off. That would be my first inclination, but if nothing else, you could use a garden dormouse and make it grass and electric or something. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the dolphin. There are indeed dolphins in the vicinity of Spain, and people have been clamoring for a dolphin Pokemon since Gen 2, it feels like. So let's go ahead and throw it out here. Clearest cut case of the water type you could find, since it can only really operate there, but I could see it adding on something else. like possibly the Ice type. Oh, or maybe even the Fighting type could be pretty cool. If you're like me and don't really have a strong stance on it, there are also whales that could be of interest to get something different than the inflatable ones from Hoenn. As far as Pokemon that we've never seen before, a good candidate would be the Spanish Ibex. This animal is somewhere between a deer and a goat, and while we already have those Pokemon, we don't have anything quite like this distinctive creature. There are plenty of Pokemon with horns, but here they could really emphasize it as their main feature. Maybe even with an ability to power up horn-based attacks. To me, I think it would make the most sense for them to be a rock type, but then they could probably get away with adding something else to spice up its life. But I find this inspiration for a Pokemon to be a fun way to shake things up. Another interesting one could be the Catalan Sheepdog. We don't always get a new dog in Pokemon, but it's not unusual to see different breeds pop up. Truthfully, I don't know much about it, but I was enticed by the idea of a big shaggy dog that can't even see properly. I know that we just had Hisui and Growlithe, but that one seems to be extinct, and it wasn't my idea to announce Generation 9 so soon, so don't blame me for cutting short its time in the spotlight. Plus, a normal type dog like this might even give us a glimpse into that northeastern part of the map, which I must admit I am quite curious about whether those citizens would be content to remain a part of the region or not. But even if we don't have that dog, there is a better option in having the Iberian wolf added to the Pokédex. I know that we have had wolves before, but this one could be different, mostly because I'm envisioning it as an ice type this time. It could live up in the mountains, which would probably make it a later game option, so that is a little bit sad, but a vicious ice wolf, whether just a 1 stage or 2, could be a great fast physical attacker, and make the ice type a little more epic than just gentle snow creatures, with a territorial wolf covered in icicles, that would not only fit with the region, but is a Pokemon that I have been longing to see for what feels like forever. So there are clearly other options as far as animals in Spain, and you could even pull some from maybe, say, a post-game Canary Islands, or others could just line up with the general environments that can be found there. But those are just some of the standouts that we should be on the lookout for to possibly be in Gen 9. What Pokemon do you think could be in Generation 9? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!